What's up, banjo players? Let's talk about fretting. What are people talking about when they say to fret the string, fret a note, play a fret? It's a little misleading because you're not actually pushing down on the fret or really even touching the fret at all. That would sound like this, kind of muted, not very loud, not very clear. When people say fret a note or play a fret, you're actually going to take your fingertip and push the string down against the board to the left of the fret that you want to play. Sounds like that. Sounds a little clearer now, a little nicer. Why does it work like that? It's because when you fret a string, you are temporarily shortening the amount of the string that vibrates. So that's an open string. It vibrates from the bridge to the nut. But if I fret the second fret, now it's only vibrating from the bridge to the second fret. And that same principle applies for any of the frets. You're just making it shorter and shorter and shorter the closer you get to the bridge, and shorter strings make higher pitches. It's important to have good finger posture. There are many pitfalls when it comes to finger posture for your left hand. So the other posture video that I made told you to rest the banjo on the hand knuckle of your left hand index finger. And when I say rest, I don't mean actually put any weight on it, because you're holding it up between your thigh and your right bicep. So it just is resting there to anchor it. It's not actually holding up any weight. It's not doing any heavy lifting. So if you do that, you have the full length of your fingers to use. A lot of people will try to rest it on like the first section of their finger, and then you have this two jointed digit there. That's not nearly as useful, and you're going to get not very clear notes out of that, and you won't be able to switch notes very fast. Don't do that. Rest on the hand knuckle, that big one. And then you're going to pinch with your thumb on the other side, like that. Okay, so you may notice that my fingers are at an angle. They're actually pointed that way. Some instruments, it's better to play straight up and down. I think a lot of bassists play this way because they have big frets and they need to travel around a lot more. But banjo players, most of them I see are playing with more of a violin kind of posture, where they're coming at the strings at an angle, which means that each of your fingers is going to play the fret with a different shape. So my index finger is going to get this right angle, 90-degree square, because it's right there. It's the first fret that it's going to play, so it doesn't need to reach out very far. And then for the second fret, my middle finger, that's going to get a slightly more obtuse angle. It's 115 degrees. That's the last degree estimate I'm going to make. But you get the idea. It's square, less square. And then it just gets more and more straightened out the farther along you get. And you end up getting this shape. So I am a bigger person. I'm 6 feet tall, and I have a typical proportion of my finger length to the rest of my body. I think, as far as I know, I have pretty long fingers. You probably have shorter fingers than me if you're watching this. I think I am in the upper percentile of that, unless you're a baller. But I can reach 4 frets at a time, and I could probably reach a little more. But I don't have to move my hand around in order to use each of my fingers. Most people will. You may have a smaller banjo. I have a 26 1/4 scale length, which even sometimes I think is a little bit too long. But that's typical, but you might have a smaller banjo and maybe it's a little easier to fret. But anyway, you can still use this basic idea of these shapes. You would just, if you want to use your pinky, maybe your pinky only reaches to the 3rd fret. So if you want to play that 4th fret with your pinky, you just do a little micro position switch, just a half fret switch so that you can reach it. It's still better, I think, to use your pinky for that note because it's the closest finger to there. And it's just good finger economy, I think. that's the basics of how to fret. If you want to practice fretting outside of the context of scales, you can just do this for each string. Open, I'm just doing a single down pick with my right hand. Open, first, second, third, fourth, third, second, first, open. You can do ditties like that if that's helpful to you, or bum ditties, etc. And you do that for each of the 4 strings. You don't really need to do it for the 5th string. Some people like to fret the 5th string. I'm probably not going to teach that at all in this series, but you can mess around with that if you want. You also don't really downpick the 5th string either, but that's a great way to practice fretting. And when you do that, just listen to the tone. It should sound nice and clean. If you're not pushing down hard enough, it might sound a little muted or buzzy. That's not ideal. To help with that, you want to play with your fingertip, not the pad of your finger. The pad is all just sort of mushy stuff. I don't care what kind of finger you have. If you play with the pad of your finger, you're going to mute the other strings, and it's just like you have to work so much harder. So like, here's the pad of my finger, and here's the fingertip. Even that, I think the fingertips sounded better, but they're about the same, but I had to work way harder. I had to push way harder to get my pad of my finger to get that note down. And then if I wanted to get something on the 4th string, and I was using the pad of my finger, then everything else is muted, so that's not ideal. All right, don't fret, it's not that hard. Sorry, that's a really hacky music teacher joke. Enjoy, good luck out there.